Hey everyone, and welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving deep into a huge question. How do we end suffering? And for answers, we're going to be looking at the ancient wisdom of Jain philosophy.
It's a question we've all asked, right? It seems to follow us everywhere. We get sick, we lose people we love, we face disappointment. But what if the reason for all this pain isn't what we think it is? What if the real source of our suffering is something we're carrying inside us every single day?
Okay, so let's get right into it. Jain teachings have this pretty radical idea about where suffering actually comes from. And spoiler alert, it's not about bad luck or the world being unfair. The idea here is that all our pain, all our anxiety and unhappiness, it all stems from an internal illness, a kind of deep-seated delusion about who we really are. This isn't some enemy you can see or fight with your hands. It's a battle that has to be fought inside the soul itself. And this internal enemy, it has a name: moha. The best way to think about it is like a thick fog of misunderstanding that we're all walking around in. Moha is this delusion that makes us get super attached to things that are temporary and external while we completely ignore what's permanent and essential. And this one big mistake is seen as the root cause of, well, all of our suffering.
So this philosophy splits our reality into two big categories. On one hand, you've got pudgal. That's the temporary material world. Think of our bodies, our stuff, our jobs, our status. On the other hand, you have the atma, our soul, which is permanent, unchanging, and our actual true self. The huge mistake that moha causes is that we spend our whole lives obsessing over the pudgal, convinced that's where happiness is, while the real source of bliss, the atma, gets totally neglected.
This analogy just nails it, doesn't it? Worrying about the material world, about pudgal, is exactly like spending all our time and energy on our neighbor's business. We're trying to perfect and control things that aren't really ours to begin with, and in the process, we forget to work on the one thing that is, our own soul, our atma.
So if moha is the enemy, how in the world do we defeat it? Well, it's not a quick fix. The Jain Tirthankars laid out this incredibly detailed, step-by-step path to freedom. You can almost picture it as a ladder, leading you up and out of that fog we were talking about.
But here's the thing. This is not a single epic battle. You can't just destroy moha in one go. Even the greatest souls, the Tirthankars themselves had to conquer it gradually. It's a slow and steady process of weakening its grip, one stage at a time, as the soul gets purer and climbs higher. This ladder is actually called the gunasthana, and it's basically a map with 14 stages of spiritual purity. It literally charts the soul's entire journey, starting way down at the bottom in a state of complete delusion, and then climbing up through these stages of more and more self-awareness, all the way to the final moments right before liberation or moksha. And what's really fascinating is this direct, inverse relationship going on. As a soul climbs that gunasthanic ladder and gets more spiritually pure, the power of moha gets weaker. But if moha's grip gets tighter, the soul can actually slip and fall back down a few rungs. So the whole spiritual journey is this constant push and pull. This brings us to the climax of the whole journey. What actually happens when a soul makes it to the very top of that ladder? These last few stages are where the final dramatic showdown with karma and delusion takes place. And what's wild is that the final ascent can look totally different depending on what specific karmas a soul still needs to burn off. Take Lord Arihant, for example. His karma for teaching ran out a month before his life did, so he spent his last days in total silent meditation. For Lord Mahavir, it was the opposite. He had more teaching karma left than lifespan karma, so he had to teach non-stop for 48 hours straight to balance everything out. Two very different final acts, but both led to the exact same place, liberation.
So here's the final sequence. It's incredibly precise. In stage 12, boom, maha is completely gone, destroyed. Then in stage 13, the soul is omniscient, it knows everything, but it's still active, it can still teach. Then, in the very final moments, it enters stage 14. It becomes omniscient without any activity. All thought, all speech, all physical vibrations just stop. And get this, how long does this final, perfectly still state last? An unbelievably short period of time.
It's called an antimuhurt, which is just defined as any unit of time that's less than 48 minutes. After that brief, motionless pause, the soul sheds its very last bits of karma and achieves liberation for good.
So what is this liberation, this moksha? It's not just the pain stopping. It's a state of infinite, permanent, totally self-contained bliss. It's described like a sun that can shine for billions of years without ever dimming. It's the soul finally resting in its own true nature, forever. Okay, so after that incredible cosmic journey from delusion to liberation, what does any of this mean for us, right here, right now? Well, the philosophy brings it all back home to a very personal, very profound point of reflection.
This one quote, right here, really sums up the entire human delusion that sits at the heart of moha. It's this fundamental mistake of spending our lives claiming things that were never actually ours to begin with, while we fail to even recognize the one thing that truly is, our own soul.
Let's break that down because it's huge. The great mistake is believing that this body is me, or that this family is mine, or that these possessions, this money, this job title, that they are fundamentally mine. From this point of view, all of those things are just temporary arrangements brought on by karma. They're all going to leave us eventually. The only real permanent mine is the soul inside. And so that really leaves us with one last big question to think about. When you strip away all the temporary stuff, all the things that you call mine, but that you know will one day be gone, what's left? What in your life is truly and forever yours? Thanks for joining us on The Explainer.